All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and welcome to the Renown Report. So, this is a weekly series that we try to have to let folks know the most up to date openings that we have, what we're working on, what we're close to accomplishing and getting filled, also the types of positions we can possibly help or assist the clients that are out there. I also wanted to take this time to thank. I got a lot of folks that are congratulating us on reaching 5 years of being I guess you would say a solopreneur. So I've been running Renown Talent by myself for 5 years now. It's been great. We've had some people that we've added to the team. We've had some people that have left the team and all of that stuff. So definitely it's been a journey. And I thought that we can dual purposes. So first, I want to jump into the jobs, what we have going on. I want to speak a little bit about the roundup because if you're not familiar, the roundup is taking place tomorrow. So we would definitely love to have you there. Last roundup we had, I believe, over 120 live attendees. So that is fantastic. And remember, if we are able to get that over 250 in at least one roundup, I'm definitely looking to having those or moving those to weekly because there's so many folks within revenue cycle that we know that we can bring to the table that help all of you know and learn more about the different functions or the types of places that you can take your career or what you can branch off into that is definitely going to be worthwhile and rewarding. So that's something that we're looking to do, and that's our challenge to get to at least 250 live attendees. But with all that we have going on at this moment, I mean, it's definitely a very busy time. AHIMA was last week. We're working with clients on upcoming jobs and opportunities as well. So let's jump into the career report really quick. So the most recent positions that we've had and we've been working on would definitely include the healthcare recruiting role. That role, I would say at this point, is essentially covered or filled, meaning that we have identified somebody for a client and then looking to get that person brought on board. They're just confirming some logistics as to when to bring that person on board and offer the position. So that position is essentially filled at this time. We do have upcoming coding roles as well as inpatient coding roles as well. But the thing with that is because of AHIMA that took place last week, a lot of decision makers and our usual contacts are just catching up from their regular day to day before we can get those roles posted, approved, and all of those things. So please hang tight. And of course, you're going to know as soon as I do that those folks are, that those roles are live, and we're definitely going to post those. So we do have some folks in the comments. I just want to go to the comments really quickly. So good morning, good morning. We have a lot of folks just chiming in and letting us know that they're here, and we really appreciate you. Now, as I said, what I wanted to do today was kind of go over some of the things, or I would say some of the lessons learned. So I thought, what could be at least one lesson or one thing that we could share with the audience for things that we've learned over the last 5 years. Okay, and the first one would be to trust the process. Now, I would say trust the process because essentially, whenever you're starting something, whether that be entrepreneurship, like getting into the new job or trying something new, getting that new certification, going to school, right? You're going to be met with challenges. And just because we're having challenges or we meet challenging people or whatever the case may be, I truly believe we are put in those situations to grow, right? Whether it be the universe, God, Buddha, however type of spirituality that you have, I really believe that they put us in those situations to help us grow. And it's really interesting. When I worked in my first hands-on recruiting job, it was in HIM RCM, and I got to work with a lot of peak performers. And working with those peak performers, I really wanted to be successful. So I copied a lot of their habits and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. I also created my own habits. And now it's funny because it came to a point where I was a little bit more senior on the team and folks were like, hey, just do whatever Bertram's doing, and I was doing a little bit of everything. And essentially that also helped me when I started Renown Talent. That also helped me to have a really good eye for salespeople and recruiters. So it's really interesting. As much as I would have loved to, let's say, just hire and help clients with just, let's say, their coding openings, I've also been tapped on a lot to help clients and different clients because they're in different stages with some of their internal openings, executive openings, right? Whether that be a coding director or that be a healthcare recruiter or, a business development manager, a salesperson, an account executive. And we've been very successful at that. I believe last year we had one client alone that hired like 5 of those individuals from us. And essentially, they gave us the open requisition saying, hey, Bertram, as you can find us right individuals, we will interview them. They were very fast. I think their interview process to first initial introduction, reviewing the resume to hiring was less than 2 weeks. We were able to help them identify 5 individuals. And with them, they were very okay with that because with their process, it just took time for folks to get through that process to find out who's going to really be a peak performer and who's going to make it. A lot of folks that we've helped and assisted have been peak performers of the company, as well as some are no longer there, but also a lot are still there as well. So it's really a mix, and I don't think that has to necessarily do with executive openings or not. It's just more about with any job. Just because somebody gets a new job doesn't mean that they're going to like it. Their opportunities or things may not have changed once they started. Things change all the time. I look at us as a company almost like a living organism. Like, things will change with it, and every day can be a little bit different from one month to the next. And of course, the economy and external factors. But just trust the process. And with all the experiences that we get, it's going to help us with future opportunities as well. So definitely trust the process. The second one I would say is for each and every one of us to listen to the market. We all have our desires, our wants, and the things that we want to focus on, but it's really helpful for each and every one of us to listen to what's going on in the marketplace. A really close mentor of mine, he was involved in RCM, and then he saw a good opportunity in case management. He was one of the first, and his team, one of the first to kind of like pioneer and spearhead that recruitment and staffing effort, and they did extremely well, really identifying a place for themselves because they saw that was something that was really big. And this is even before COVID and the pandemic and all of that stuff happened. So going back again to definitely like trusting the process, but listening to the market as to where you can serve, and possibly becoming a subject matter expert within that place. And that's gonna come up to the next one with being able to continuously learn. I definitely believe that we essentially start dying. I would say that'd be a little bit dramatic, but I'd say I believe that we definitely start dying once we stop learning. And the great thing about learning, it doesn't necessarily have to be attached to any particular age or where you're at in your career. We can always learn. So whether that be some new software or whether that be social media or whatever the case may be, I just think it's so awesome that if you are able to continuously learn, you're going to just be adding more to your skill set. So when I started as a recruiter, I was, doing everything else my other team members were doing, right? But I also learned that there's some other ways that I can possibly reach candidates, and that's what also really propelled me to be very successful. And a lot of folks that I know that work for companies that are very successful, they're also doing those things as well, right? A lot of folks within social media that do very well on our platforms within our space, they also have had a lot of success in learning something new, whether that be TikTok or whatever the next social media platform is, and becoming the medical coding subject matter expert on that platform. Funny, they were doing the same thing on, let's say, LinkedIn, but LinkedIn had so many folks, they were almost like drowned out, right? You couldn't really hear their voice. But going on a new platform, those creators or those influencers, subject matter experts, weren't posting there. So when they posted there, it just lit like fire, like wildfire. So definitely being open to learning and just adding more things to your tool belt can definitely be very helpful. And number 4, I would also say would be to add something new. So starting in recruiting, I was doing what everybody else was doing. I was doing the cold calling, I was emailing, I was smoke screening, texting, whatever the case may be, trying my best to connect with candidates. But I also had a very limited territory. We also had some big clients in that territory. And recruiting, that's not a good thing, because what that means is we're not supposed to recruit from our clients, right? And if that ever happened, we got more than our hand slapped. So being fresh on the team, I did not want to upset, the folks that I was going to be working with. I was actually going to help get my coders placed. So what did I have to do? I had to go to social media. social media for me was more something that I was forced to do. But instead of me replacing it with something else, I added it to what I was doing. So I'll get to work a little bit early so I can create my posts, so I can have the content well. What doesn't mean it was always perfect. Definitely had typos. Some of those typos, folks used it against me, and that's absolutely fine. But I was trying something new. I was doing something new, and of course, I got better. I will still have typos in the things that I do today, right, in email, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a bad speller or any of those things. It just sometimes it helps to have a second eye look at things. But anyway, Grammarly, right? But anyway, I added that to what I was doing, and it's interesting. A lot of my coworkers said, "Well, Bertram, you did a lot of social media, and that's where you got all your hires." But even if I identified somebody on social media, what did I need to do? I need to bring them to the phone and talk to them via cold call, warm call, warmer call, right? Build that relationship and put them through the process. So I wasn't using social media for me to replace what I was doing already at my work desk. I was adding it to what I was doing. So I would say also adding something, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're within revenue cycle, coding can also be a very big help to you. And last but not least, and this is probably one that's going to stick out to a lot of the new or entry level folks, is to not quit. I've had so many folks reach me, "Hey Bertram, I saw the roundup, it's fantastic, I love the jobs, I love that you allow us to showcase ourselves, all of that is great, but like, it's been 6 months, it's been 9 months, I don't know how long I can go until I can continue investing in this or putting time into this and all of that stuff." And I've been there. Um, First job out of college, I was there for a year, then I was laid off. That was a great recession that we had. I was on unemployment, applying for jobs every single day, focusing on that um, for 6 months. Ran out of unemployment. I just needed a job to keep the lights on, right? I went to work for a company that was way under my pay grade qualifications, but I just needed to do something, right? And then I did another job for 3 or so years, and that's when I really started looking at healthcare as to what I can do, and I found recruiting. But in those 3 years, 3.5 years, I wanted to be a recruiter, but I heard the same thing that a lot of you have heard or are hearing on a daily basis. Thank you so much. We appreciate your drive and all of that you've done. We appreciate your certifications, but we need somebody with prior experience. And since a lot of the health systems, just like today, back then, they were bought up by these large corporations. If you spoke to that hiring manager and they said no, it also knocked out me, let's say, applying to the other 12 or so, facilities. And that's what we have here in the Tampa Bay, Pinellas County, Hillsborough County area here in Florida. So it was very challenging, but I didn't quit. It's funny. A coworker of mine looked at my face one day and she said, "Bertram, you look very down. Usually not this way. Like, what's going on?" And I am not the one to bring negativity to work, but since I trusted this person and also this person was concerned about me, I didn't want to lie. I didn't want to like just brush it off. I was just like frustrated. Honestly, I just came from failed interview and I just shared with her, I'm trying my best to be a recruiter. I want to. I also know that she was in a very similar situation to myself. She managed buildings and teams and all of these people, and she was working as an executive assistant, essentially office manager. So very similar situation. And she's like, "Hey Bertram, thank you for sharing that with me." And my husband comes home talking about that he needs a really good recruiter on his team. And I didn't know because I didn't have any recruiting experience, but I thought to myself, why don't I try? And it was interesting. Another one of my mentors in our office, he worked for the same company and he did such a great job over there that this executive assistant's husband was working at, that he became a recruiting director at the job that I was at. So I was like, okay, I recognize the company and they're not too far from me. Let's see what can happen. One thing led to another. At the time, I happened to find out later that the hiring managers for that company were actually fighting for my resume. They really wanted me to come on board because I was green, but I didn't know that the gentleman that referred me, my mentor now, right? He referred like two or three other superstars that did extremely well. So whenever he referred somebody, they really trusted that it went very well. I spoke with him before he just passed on my resume, of course, but I didn't know that going in. But I also remembered when I got the job that I could not just slack or just do it half-heartedly because he was putting his name and his reputation on the line. So that's as another little tip. If anybody is willing to put your name out there and refer you, definitely make sure that whoever they refer you to, whether it's a job, a client, whatever, you need to take care of them, because that is that person putting their name on the line. That's them putting their subject matter expertise, their experience, saying that, hey, I happen to know everything that is going to be a really good recruiter, medical coder, whatever the case may be. And I believe that this person has what it takes to be successful. So definitely do not quit. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but I usually believe that in those steps, there are things that we have to learn. We have to get better. We have to retool and go back out to the market. And these are things that we should work out daily. And also realize, and this is another thing, that same mentor, he shared with me most recently. I had a field opportunity, and I allowed him to look at our proposal and what we were doing, and it's so crazy what he shared with me. He said, Bertram, I can see that you and your team put a lot of work into this, and I can definitely tell that you tapped on some subject matter experts to help you, right? But he said, I don't see anything wrong with your proposal, or probably what you said. I think everything was fine, but maybe you just needed a few more of these. Because at the same time, a lot of you connect with me like, Bertram, I had that one dream job interview yesterday, and it just didn't work out, right? And it's like, well, there are other dream jobs out there. Is there only really like one company, right? And if there is only one company, there are up and coming companies that people like myself are building all of the time. So what is the key? The key is to keep on trying, keep on going out there, once again, not quitting and just putting yourself forward. So those are just 5 things that I wanted to share, and things that I've learned over the 5 years. I definitely do not have everything figured out. I definitely know that there are a lot of people that are far ahead of me, whether that be in terms of teams, headcount, office space, clients, all of that stuff. I had to really learn from the bottom up and the ground up. But you know what? I cannot compare my chapter 5 to somebody else's chapter 10 or 12 or 20. A lot of folks that I've spoken with that have built companies similar to mine, the sacrifices it takes to actually get to that level, I am not sure a lot of folks like myself, or even you, are willing to do that. For example, mortgaging your house, whether that be equity loan or selling it, whatever the case may be, to keep your doors open because you lost, 80% of your headcount. But the 20% that you had, you need to keep them full. So you mortgage or you sold your house. And like, is that something a lot of us would be comfortable in doing? And even after this individual did that, there was no guarantee that they were going to be successful. So when I see how aggressively some companies have grown and they're doing so well and they're getting on Inc.'s like top 5,000 companies, whatever the case may be, but I also talk to those owners and the CEOs about the companies and like how it took them or what it took for them to get there. There's just so much sacrifice, right? And I cannot say I've definitely sacrificed a lot, but I haven't sacrificed it to that extent to believe in something that you're building, to do it like that. This isn't Legos. My son loves Legos. This isn't Legos. This isn't something that you just, oh, okay, you can do it again. Like, there's so much on the line, right? In every interaction. But if we don't quit, you keep on adding new things, you keep on trying new things, and we also listen to the market and trust the process, is all really going to work out. So these are tries and truths and lessons that I'm also applying on a day-to-day basis. And I also need to constantly remind myself, because I'm very human like each and every one of you. So for the jobs and the careers, we have a lot more and new jobs coming up. For the anniversary, I just really appreciate each and every one of you. I know a lot of folks have sent me messages. And this is the funny thing with the messages that we get on LinkedIn. And I'm not saying that I'm extremely popular or anything, but I even had this happen today. Somebody sent me a anniversary thank you message, and I had a message buried in my inbox from them back in 2014. I filter my LinkedIn inbox, okay, by unread messages, but this message never popped up. So maybe I clicked on it, but I never really viewed it or something like that. That's definitely a possibility. So what I would ask is, if there's a message that you sent me and I haven't responded at least once, just feel free to bump the message or comment again to let me see that message, because things get drowned in my inbox. I went through it this morning. I shouldn't have any unread messages, but I don't want a message sitting there from 2014. I had to apologize. I'm like, whoa, I'm so sorry. I didn't see that message, right? Or I didn't recollect seeing that message. But those things happen. So for everybody that was able to tune in for this episode, really appreciate you. I am so excited for the live stream that we're gonna have tomorrow, and that's with Brian Quee and he's going to be talking about leadership. If you're not too sure about who Brian Quee is, he is a subject matter expert within our space. He pioneered, I would say, the podcasting within revenue cycle and coding. A lot of the podcasts and the things that you see today were actually inspired by him. I remember, like, when I was even on his podcast, he was like, "Hey, Bertram, you know, why don't you start a podcast?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's something that I'll think about." I wasn't really looking to go in that direction, but he was very helpful. He's like, "Hey, Bertram, if you need this or whatever you need, like equipment and all of this stuff, like let me know. I'll kind of like help you out. I'll, I'll be your mentor to help you get to there. And he's like, "Yeah, Bertram, this podcast, this one, this one. Like I've kind of helped, those individuals because our space is so large and so huge, he can't cover everything. He can't speak to all audiences, right? And it's interesting, your vibe is going to bring your tribe. So he can speak and he's going to have people that gravitate to him. I can speak, it can be a totally different group of people. So I just think that there's so much that we can learn from him, and he's going to be speaking about leadership, and that is tomorrow at noon. So if you haven't already, and I'm going to comment on this post, please sign up for the reminder. Well, let us know that you're going to attend, and also remember to get a calendar reminder. And if you aren't able to make it or something happens, it's absolutely fine. You can click on the same link, and that's going to take you to the recording. I'm also going to have all of these live streams and all of these recordings on our YouTube channel. That's Renown CEO. You can go to that channel as well if you're looking for any of our content that we put out there, especially the video format, even the shorts that we put on there as well. And why am I doing that? Because for us, YouTube is going to be like our archive. It's going to be like, hey, what is that episode with Brian? And like, when was it? On LinkedIn, I'm not saying that they don't have this access yet, but I kind of feel like it can get lost. Versus on YouTube, I'm able to categorize it, so I can put the live streams here, right? I can put the short content here. I can put the career reports in this area. So that allows us to really put them in different lists, making it much easier to find. Also, if it's on YouTube, we can search for it just in the YouTube search box, right? So LinkedIn's fantastic for bringing this together and hosting this and all this great stuff. But essentially our archive, or let's say, hey, what about that episode with Victoria, right? If I can't find it on LinkedIn, I can always bring you to YouTube so you can see it there. But yeah, we appreciate you. And I see somebody's apologizing. Hey, no need to apologize for joining. This is just a quick one, just a little spontaneous one to say the latest jobs that we have, what we have coming up. Also, thank you for the anniversary love that we got with our company for 5 years. They say like what 90% of companies don't make it 5 years in. And I'm not gonna say that we've made it, right? But we're still here. we're not gonna quit. We're not gonna give up. So I hope each and every one of you can take that as well. So, hey, have a fantastic week. I know it's Tuesday, but let's get at it. Tuesday tends to be, I've heard somewhere, like one of the most productive days of the week. Why is that? Because you took care, you caught up all your stuff from yesterday. You usually had meetings and stuff. And then like Tuesday is like your first full productive day. And I also like to test. So I usually do this on Mondays, but let's see if we have a better turnout doing it on a Tuesday. So let's kind of see. But as I said, no need to apologize. This wasn't planned. I was just going through messages this morning and I felt like I might have missed someone. So I wanted to just say thank you for the anniversary. Congrats. And, here's to the next 5 years. And hopefully we can see you tomorrow on the roundup. And as we say, be renowned and be forgotten. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.